Hi, I'm Andy Heather. I'm the Vice President and General Manager of Centrify in Europe, Middle East, Africa, and actually also Canada as well. More of that later on.
What's the job role like?
A lot of traveling. I spend a lot of time here in the Middle East. I spend a lot of time throughout Europe, so a lot of time traveling throughout Europe, getting to meet our customers and our prospects, and also our partners as well, because we've got a very strong channel ecosystem. So we're working with our partners to give us coverage and deliver solutions to our customers right across that region.
So Centrify has been well known for its multifactor authentication. Right?
Yes, we have.
That used to be a very interesting way of securing identity access management. But now you've come up with much more newer and much more agile concepts. Take us through the business model and what is the offering, how it's changed.
Yeah, sure. So about a year ago now, we decided that we would focus really 100% on that privileged access management market. And the reason for that was that we see that as a growing market. We are extremely well positioned in that. If you look at the likes of Gartner, Forrester, KuppingerCole, they all see us as a leader in that space. So it made perfect sense for us to focus on that privileged access market. Now, there are other vendors in that space, but I think from our perspective, we were developed as a platform from a cloud basis. So the more we see people moving towards the cloud, it makes it easier for us to go and acquire new clients and help clients that probably have been doing privileged access in a more legacy way to kind of make that transition to being not just on-premise, but a hybrid model, and then move off to the cloud as well. So that's kind of our business model and where we're going with our underlying platforms as well.
The adoption of cloud has been a trigger to look at this whole aspect of access management again.
Yeah, very much so. And regionally, that's happened at different speed across all of the areas that I work in. Some places have been, gone very quickly into the cloud. Other areas, other geographies, other countries have taken a more pragmatic, slower approach to that. One of the things I have noticed, though, is even in some of those regions where there was some reluctance to move to the cloud, the economics, the capabilities that the cloud brings, I guess the maturity of some of those technologies in the cloud, I mean, a lot of those concerns really do seem to have gone away. So we're seeing a lot of new regions spring up and become more interesting to us as we see cloud adoption taking place.
So tell me about the actual solution. How has it changed? It used to be, as I said, multi-factor access management, but now it's moved to a much more stricter regime of access. So what has been the change?
It has been, but we've not left some of those technologies behind us. So if you think about what we've done in the past, we did some very good work around multi-factor authentication. We've done some very interesting things around auditing and capturing of activities, so we're still doing that. And we're bringing those to bear around some of the core PAM technologies. So when people start thinking about doing PAM, doing privileged access, and by the way, when we're talking to customers, probably only about 50% of customers have actually done anything when it comes to privileged access. So there's a big market there. So the question I get from people is, where do I start? What do I do first? Where do I get some success? And my answer is always the same. Do the first thing first. Go and implement a password vault. If it's the one thing you do, go and do that. Now, you might choose to do that with Centrify, which is great. You might choose to do it with some other vendors, but that's really the first place that I always advise people to go. Get all the passwords, put them in a vault, and get them under some sort of control. So that's a great place to start from privileged access management. Now, when you've done that, that's not quite enough. You're going to want to do some more things. You're going to want to make sure that the people that are going in and accessing that data are doing it in a very, very controlled way. So we apply our multi-factor authentication for when people log in and actually go and get those passwords out of the vault. Not only that, when people actually start to do things with those passwords, whether they're accessing a server or an application, every time they do that, we enforce multi-factor authentication. So all the way through the process, we're using multi-factor authentication. And also we're using our auditing capabilities that we've had for many, many years to actually monitor exactly what those people are doing. So whether that's from a forensics perspective after the event or in real time whilst they're doing things, we can capture that data and we can see exactly what we're doing. So we're bringing some of those unique capabilities that Centrify has to really enhance that basic core principle of go and get a vault. And that's what we're doing.
So what you're saying is the entire universe of passwords that exists in any business comes under control, unique control of a few administrators, the privileged access, privileged administrators.
Yes.
And then you protect the privileged access managers, privileged managers, administrators with zero trust policy.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like a double protection.
Yeah, the more layers of protection you can do, always the better.
So what happens regionally? Are they really that much pain to appreciate they need to do this? Because I think that's the main trigger, right?
Yeah, I think it really is. Back to that 50% of people that we talk to are doing something or they've done something, but there's still half the people out there are not doing anything at all. So yeah, there's still a big market, and there's still a lot of work to be done. The other point that you made earlier on is that we were talking about is that there is more acceptance of cloud, and how do you take those same basic principles that you're thinking about on premise and actually taking them to the cloud? And that's an area that we've focused on heavily. So a lot of our customers they have hybrid environments. They've got some things on premise, but a lot of them are on that journey, and some of them have gone completely to the cloud, but most of them are on the journey to the cloud. And the benefit of the Centrify approach is that you buy one platform, the one solution, you manage it, you utilize it, you use it in exactly the same way, whether it's on premise or in the cloud. So it makes the journey pretty simple for people. Do it once, solve both problems.
But regionally, how sophisticated are the CISOs and their organizations to implement something like this? Because it needs a significant amount of multi-skills to have zero trust policy.
It really does, and zero trust means a lot of things to a lot of people, and almost...
Sometimes it's not convenient. It might make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Highly inconvenient if you don't have the agile way of re-putting the access back. Then it can also mean disruption in operation.
Yeah, and it's not a. I would say it's not a destination. It's more of a journey, and that's why when we're talking to people, when we talk about zero trust, we always talk about it with respect to privileged access. Because you could talk to other vendors who have a different view on zero trust, and they approach it a different way. But very clearly, when you're thinking about privileged access management, we apply those basic, always verify principles of zero trust to that. So we're using MFA before people check out passwords. We're using MFA before people elevate privileges so that they can do more. So we're always using that zero trust, always verify, never accept. So we're applying those principles to that. But you're absolutely right. It's the whole zero trust journey it can be complex, it can be disruptive, and it needs a lot of thought.
First of all, they need to understand the basic reason for doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
They have to be in pain.
Yeah.
And then second is the solution needs to be well implemented for
Yes.
it to actually work.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the CISO's challenge. Its primary challenge right now is obviously the organization is growing, is a lot of devices, they're they're looking at cloud again and again, multi-cloud, and then you get IoT in, and you get you need to start securing all sorts of types of suppliers and all that. Do you see them moving forward in this logical direction with all these challenges?
I'd say yes in theory, and I think they like to think that they are, but they're taking much smaller steps than I think many people thought. I always say that you think from a great idea to there being a great solution, we always think the time that it's going to take is actually less than it is, and in reality that journey is going to be much longer. But I think people are investigating it. They are trying to figure out what small steps they can make, but there's a long way to go.
Which type of organizations or which type of market segments are well suited for this? Like for example, it could be the banking, it could be the government. Where do you think is a sweet spot in terms of the user profile?
I think the thing that's really driving a lot of it is industries that are heavily regulated. So finance, banking, telecommunications. I think those guys will be the first, and I think a lot of that's because they are also the organizations that are doing more digital transformation programs, and that is potentially allowing them the scope, the flexibility, the money, the forward thinking to actually adopt some of these things. In some of the more traditional industries where there isn't so much change, I think it will take those guys longer.
Like for national infrastructure, mission critical industries like the power, the central banks, and all that. Or they are too heavily regulated to go in for something like this?
No, it does make it more difficult for them, undoubtedly so. So more of the sort of less core banking organizations can do it easily. We see those emergence of those challenger banks. They're doing things in a different way.
Agile business.
Yeah, they're doing things in a different way. They're thinking in a different way. So they're not held back by regulation.
Sure.
They're not held back by history. They are more.
Like you mentioned, the ones which are using cloud actively are the ones where they will obviously would want to have something like this, because you never know when access is kept open and you need to actually bring it back.
Yeah, and one of the areas that was always a concern for people moving to the cloud was around security, and one of the areas was always around how do you manage this privileged piece of it once you go to the cloud. And I think it took a lot of CISOs kind of a while to get their head around the fact that just because you're moving to the cloud, you can't think about your security as being handled by somebody else. The responsibility for the security of your infrastructure and your applications and your people still lives with you, even though you've taken some of that into the cloud. And I think that took quite a while for people to actually start going on that journey and actually realizing what they had to do.